Hello and welcome to episode 66. I checked it before I pressed go and I still had to check it again, of the Mouses Makes Knitting podcast. My name is Mandy, sometimes known as Mouse. This is Miss Poppy, my co-host, who is gracing us with, oh no, false alarm, she's laid back down. Well, I know a lot of people scoot through this first bit, but can I just ask you today to watch it because I have some important things to say. First and foremost, an enormous thank you to all of you who have donated to the Ko-fi account, Ko-fi, coffee, however you pronounce it, to help out with packaging and posting for the Ukraine knit-along, make-along. I keep calling it a yeah, you know what I mean. Thank you very, very much. Every single penny is very much appreciated. I've practiced saying this because I didn't want it to sound like I was being trite, but it is very much appreciated, and I do mean that, even if it does sound a little bit stiff, because I've been practicing. Okay, second thank you is to a lady called Anne, who has sent me a pattern for services knitting, what's it called, service woolies, to help out with Ewan's quest for authentic. There's been a whole thing this week, but I'll tell you more about that when I get there. And thirdly, I forgot all about the fact that last week I was going to announce a 1,000 subscriber giveaway. This is what happens when I don't write things down. So today I've got everything written down so that I don't forget anything, because last week was just a disaster as far as that's concerned. I'm going to prop that up there and hope that it doesn't fall down. Right. Yes. So 1,000 subscriber giveaway. If you would like to enter, please be a subscriber, because it would be great if it didn't go to someone who just dropped in on the off chance. And all you really have to do is comment below and put 1k in your comment. I'm going to run it this week and next week, because next week the Knitting with Ukraine Makealong finishes. I'm just checking that I'm right. Yes. And then I will draw for both of those on the 7th of September, so 2 weeks from today. That's to give people who don't necessarily watch a video the week it comes out a bit of a chance to enter as well. And because I forgot last week. Oh, now I forgot what I was going to say. See, it doesn't matter how organised I get, my brain still does this to me. The prize. Oh my lord. Right, the prize for the 1,000 subscriber giveaway is going to be a pattern prize. If you're on Ravelry, that's the easiest, but don't feel that if you're not, you can't enter, because we will find a way to get you the pattern that you want. Even if I have to buy it, have it delivered here and then post it on to you, you'll get your pattern. Right. You can make... I should probably just stop and start again, but I'm running out of time, and so I'm not going to. The Ukraine Makealong finishes next Wednesday. If you haven't yet entered, get your entries in. You don't have to be finished. You just need to, on Instagram, use the hashtag knittingwithukraine and tag the Ukrainian designer for whatever it is you're making, and that will get you your entry. If you want to know what the prizes are, go back 2 or 3 weeks, and I showed all the prizes 2 weeks running, apart from one. That's a little prize that is going to be a surprise. So, yeah. I think that's everything. I'm checking my notes. Observe me checking my notes. Okay, the fourth thing I had to say was, a lady commented last week and said that she had so much enjoyed seeing Poppy that she's adopted a cat called Misty. So from me and Poppy, hello Misty and hello Penny. Right. I think that's everything. Okay. I don't have a huge amount of knitting to show you because for the weekend I took 2 days out from knitting and I did some sewing. Can't really show you what I've been sewing because, well, one of them's been posted off and the other one is a gift. So, and this dress is already annoying me. Can't show you what I was sewing, unfortunately, but I've done a fair amount of knitting because you know me. If I'm awake and I'm not eating, I'm pretty much knitting. So I've got 2 finished objects for you. The first one being this here pair of socks. This pair are knit using the All Is Calm pattern by Kay Jones of the Bakery Bears, which I think is a subscriber only pattern, so I wasn't able to link it for you. The main yarn is King Cole Zigzag in, and I'm sure it's called Circus Tent. And for the heels, toes and cuffs, I used West Yorkshire Spinners Cinnamon Stick. This is the first of my Christmas gift knitting finished. I've spent some time this week compiling my Christmas gift knitting list and I'm going to have to get cracking with that soon. What I'm planning to do though is not show you as I go, because some of the people who the gifts are for watch the podcast and I don't want to spoil anybody's surprise. So what I'm going to do is, before I wrap everything up, I'm going to film a podcast and put that up after Christmas so you can see all my Christmas gift knitting in one go. And it gives me a week off. So, first pair of socks finished. Pretty happy with them. I'm going to knit myself a pair in this yarn, but I might not do that till spring, because to me, I started them this spring rather, because to me they shouted Easter, you know, mini eggs and milk chocolate, and yeah, I didn't get them finished till the weekend. So my sock mojo went on a little bit of a holiday. It's back. Oh boy, is it back. Prepare yourselves. There will be probably many socks over the next few weeks. Because my second object, finished object, is another pair of socks. This pair, I'd finished one and I was up to about, or down to, whichever way you want to look at it, about there I think on the second one. Yeah, I could not put these down. They are so pretty. They're part of the reason I'm wearing this dress today, because I reminded myself how much I loved these colours. The main yarn is West Yorkshire, West Yorkshire Spinners Blue Lagoon, and I did just the heels because I did an afterthought heel in, I have it here, Signet Truly Woolrich. It's just like a dark blue. It's number, where are we? 324. So it's just a dark blue. I ummed and ahed about what colour to do the heels, whether to pick up one of these colours, whether to use this yarn, because the way you knit an afterthought heel, if you've not done one, most of you probably know, you do it, you go round and round. It's a bit like a toe, but in fact it's exactly like a toe. So you start next to the sock and you work your way out and then you Kitchener it closed. So it would have given a kind of a bullseye effect on the toe. I think that would have been quite pretty, but there's a reasonable amount of yarn left to make either another pair or I think probably some fingerless gloves. So I wanted to save as much as I could, so I did a contrast heel. The pattern is just my own vanilla sock pattern out of my head. The trial and error shows fits me. It's 60 stitches on a 2.25 circular magic loop. I've done a 1x1 rib. I don't know why, because I actually prefer a 2x2 rib. And on the pair that I cast on this morning, I put a 2x2 rib. Force of habit, I think, really. But yeah, so that's this pair. And I will be entering these into Denise from Dear Designs. Is running a year-long sock make-along. And the prompt for August was blue skies. And I am like, ka-ching! I have finally got a pair of socks in the prompt colour, finished in the right month. That's an achievement this year, because I think my April socks I finished in August. There were no June or July socks, or May socks either. Yeah. But my excuse is, well, my sock mojo had gone, but also I won March. She does a prize each month, and I think I won in March. So it's only fair not to enter for a few months to give other people a chance, isn't it? That's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. The yarn that I won from her is one of her own hand-dyed yarns, and I am itching to cast it on, but it's a spring yarn. It's waiting till next spring. If she runs the Year of the Sock again next year, then I'm going to enter that yarn in the appropriate month. That's all I'm going to say about that. But yeah, so those are my two finished objects. Bit sad, really. I will give you an update on my Stephen West shawl. The name will be up there, so no, it won't be up there. So I'm not going to say it because it upsets my friend Jane. It's a word she cannot stand. I promised myself I wasn't going to do any leaning and reaching and dropping things on the floor today. Yeah, best laid plans and all that. So here is my Stephen West shawl. Actually, I should show you the pattern first. It's slowing down now because it's getting bigger and bigger. So here it is. As you can see, it's going to finish up quite large. I think I worked out it's 92 inches, and I think I worked that out to be about 2.5 meters. It's big, but it's going to be lovely. I'm hoping, I'd like to get a few large shawls like this to wear in sort of like late autumn, early spring, instead of a coat. Because, you know, it's really uncomfortable when you get into a car and, you know, you sit on your coat, you've got to keep like trying to, and then you can't move your arms because you've sat on the coat. So I'm thinking that some large shawls might be more comfortable kind of wrapped around me. Right. This is how far I have got. And I said last week I was going to do the mohair dare. I did it. There's my mohair section. Can't tell you what the yarns are. The blue is... It wasn't what I was going to say, so I'm glad I didn't say it. The blue is Patterns Diploma Gold in 04287. It's just a dark blue, really. The green is Lost in the Mists of Time. It was just a scrap that I had. The pale yellow, which is actually showing up pale yellow today. The light's not as bad as I feared. That was some scraps left over from some socks I made in yarn by Madam Mel. And I can't remember what the colourway was. I want to say flax, but I know it wasn't that. Can't remember. But it's just a very, very pale yellow. The other yarns in it, the multi and the bright yellow, can't tell you what they are. The mohair, can't tell you what that is. No label. Yeah, so I did my mohair section. Really quite pleased with it. I was a bit concerned that it might look out of place because obviously it's so much finer than the 4-ply, and I dithered about whether I should use it double. I probably could have done, but as it happened I didn't. I just used it single, and it looks fine. You can see through it a bit, but that's okay. I mean, let's face it, you can see through most of the shawl, or you will do once it's been blocked, because there's lacy bits all over. And last night I girded my loins and completed the second crisscross section. I was going to say I hate it. That's not true. I just don't enjoy it. Because it's fiddly, and I don't do fiddly. I've no patience with it. But yeah, that's done. All 400 stitches of it is done. I think it's fairly plain sailing from now on. It's just that the stitch count is getting pretty massive. Rows are taking longer and longer. I'd like to have it finished, well, I was going to say by the end of the month, but that's a week today, so that's probably not an achievable goal. I'd certainly like to have it finished by the middle of next month, because here's something I was going to tell you at the end, but I might as well tell you now. The Knitting with Ukraine Make-Along finishes on the 31st of August. On the 1st of September, the autumn Make-Along starts. I will give you all the proper details next week. There'll be a hashtag, there'll be a thread on Ravelry, and I'll let you know what all that is next week once I've got it all sorted out. It will run from the 1st of September to the 31st of October, which is the same period of time that I ran my sock along last year. But this year it's not going to be just socks. This year it's going to be anything you want to make, because I felt a bit bad. Last year was my first one, and I chose socks because I enjoyed knitting socks. And then a lot of people were saying, well, could we make this and could we make that? And I realised that I'd left a lot of people out because they're not sock knitters. And then I felt mean. So this year, it won't be just socks. It will be whatever you like with an autumn theme. But we'll go over all of that next week. Next week's probably going to be quite a long one, but there'll be a lot of waffle. I'm warning you now. No, actually there won't. No, it won't be that bad. It'll be the following week with all the prize draws. That'll be 2 weeks' time. I'm going to stop confusing myself and get on with what I'm supposed to be doing, because I've gone off list now. Okay. Ewan's gloves. You may remember that I mentioned it last week, and I've mentioned it before, I think. My son Ewan is very, very interested in history, and in particular the history of the early half of last century. So World War One, World War Two. Very, very interested in that. And as a result, he has joined a living history reenactment group who concentrate on World War Two, that period of time. and he's got a lot of uniform, but he asked me, could I knit him some gloves? And I talked a bit about this last week, but I found a pattern, then realised it was a 1950s pattern, and really he's gone to so much trouble to make everything authentic that I wanted to do the same. So I had a bit of a search and I came across this. Sorry, it's got a bit creased in the bag. And this is a genuine pattern from 1942, issued by the American Red Cross for army gloves. So I couldn't get a lot better than that. The modifications, it's made more user-friendly for modern knitters, but also it's been put into centimetres, which I think the majority of people use. I switch and swap words. I do things with words between the two. I will use centimetres and inches, sometimes in the same garment, because when I was at school, we switched from imperial to metric, and so I'm quite comfortable with both systems of measurement. But yeah, so I started making these. The pattern is worsted, but it's knit originally on 2.5mm and 3mm needles, which are small. I don't know what they are in American sizing, but they're quite small. They're sock needles for most people, to be honest. But the point of that is to give it a really close, tight fabric that's windproof. And obviously being made with wool, it will be to an extent waterproof, assuming that you've used wool that's still got the oils in it. I don't use that because I can't, it does stuff to my skin. But I am using wool. I'm using, where are we? This one. I'm holding two together. This is Cascade Heritage. Find the label. In colour 5610, which is camel. And I'm holding it together with this Woolcraft Superwash sock in 4432. And in the light this week, you can see they are almost the same colour. And when they're marled together, you can't tell that there's two separate yarns. They're that close in colour. So I started knitting this glove and I got this far. And I got him to try it on because as I'd been knitting it, I'd been trying it on and I was becoming a little bit suspicious because, and I will show you, take that out. And I think you know where I'm going with this. It fits me perfectly, and I am not a 6'4" man. I am less than a 5'4" lady. So I was a bit suspicious that it wasn't going to fit him. And I got him to try it on, and it was a fight. It was a real fight for him to get into it. On me, it feels lovely. It's really snug. Oh, and I'd gone up a needle size. I forgot to tell you that. I'd done 3mm for the rib and 3.25 for the hand and the fingers. And as you can see, it fits me perfectly, which was not, in this instance, the result I was looking for. So I stopped knitting this one and I started knitting it again, and I've gone up in size. I did the rib in 2.25 and I'm doing the body, no, I did the rib in 3.25mm, so many numbers, and I'm doing the body in 3.5mm because I want the fabric to still be fairly close knit but not too tight. And the result being, and I don't know how well this is going to come out, this, I don't know if you can see, it's not got a lot of stretch. It's quite tight and snug. This one, it's got a bit more stretch. So I think I may have hit on the correct formula for his gloves. I've got a little bit more to go and then do the fingers. And once I've done a finger, I'll get him to try it on and we'll see. But it certainly feels, if I put it on, it certainly feels a lot less snug. So I think this may well do. His palm isn't a lot broader than mine, but it's longer and his fingers are longer. So this could be the answer. Fortunately, or unfortunately, if you're me, I mentioned Anne sent me the service woolies pattern. He would now like a V-neck sweater and some knee-length socks, all in this colour, which is beige. I wouldn't have minded if it was like an army green, but no, beige is apparently the correct colour. So there'll be a lot of beige knitting going on. It's not going to be a huge priority, I will admit that, because the season for the Living History events is almost over. The last one, technically the last one, takes place this weekend, which is August Bank Holiday weekend. There is one in September, but it's fairly locally. There is a historic steam railway and they do a 1940s weekend, and so Ewan and a couple of the other lads from the Living History group are going to go down in all their kit. I meant to say, I think I'm going to try and put a picture up here so that you can see what he looks like in all his finery. I only learnt how to do it today, so the picture may just flash and disappear, or it may be there for the rest of this video and you won't be able to see half my head. Just know that I've done my best, which is what my mother told me always to do. Just do your best. I've done a little bit on my what's this Christmas sweater, but not enough really to show you, so I'm not going to bother and show you that. So I think, check the list, Mandy, that's why you have a list. Yes, that's all my knitting. If you're only interested in knitting, now might be the time to bid us adieu, because I'm going to talk about cross stitch for a little bit now. Do not panic, this is not about to become a floss tube. I have been talking for some time about my secret project. Well, my secret project was a cross stitch, and at the end I'm going to stick on a little film of what I did. But doing it, once I actually gritted my teeth and got into it, reminded me that I actually quite enjoy it, even though I can't do it for very long because I've got arthritis and tendonitis and pinching the needle. My time doing it is limited. So I fished out something that I started and abandoned, I think about 15 years ago. I'd almost forgotten about it until we decorated in here last spring, so a little over a year ago, almost 18 months ago, and obviously came across it because we moved everything out and then we moved everything back in, and I came across this cross stitch that I had been doing. I've always been a knitter, always, since I was very small, but I discovered cross stitch and it kind of took my heart for a few years, about 10 years. It became my main hobby with a bit of knitting every now and again. But yes, I started it and I abandoned it because it's quite hard. When I show it to you, you'll probably see why. So this is the kit. I don't know if it's still available. I've had it many, many years. I'd almost say I've had it possibly almost 20 years. And I started it and I abandoned it. And when I found it again, I was quite pleased with myself because I've been very efficient. I've got needles threaded up and stored. You can see all the colours that are in it. I mean, look at all those numbers. I can't believe I was that organised. It's most unlike me. The pattern's over several pages and I've done about a third of one page. This is how far I'd got. Now, you'll probably agree that it is rather beautiful. You can see the blackberries and the leaves, and you know these colours are my colours. I love these colours. So I'm going to, well, I have fished this back out. I'm going to see if, even if all I do is get a square a week done. Craft House Magic, Ellie does a 20 minutes a day thing, doesn't she? I'm not going to do 20 minutes a day, but I could do an hour one morning, I think. The problem is that you are changing colours quite frequently. And that, I think, is what put me off it. It was all the start, stop, start, stop. So, but then if you look at the picture, once you get past her wreath of leaves, then I'm going to start moaning that it's all the same colour. There's no pleasing me. But yeah, so I'm going to start doing this. You're not going to get shown it every week, I promise. But yeah, I'm going to donate a little bit of my knitting time to getting this done because I do love it and I would like it up. So now's the time, I think, to show you my secret project. Please excuse the peculiar angle. I've been really struggling to get this into frame without there being a load of reflection on it. There's still a fair amount of reflection on it, but this is the secret project that I have mentioned a couple of times that I've been working on. It's a cross-stitch sampler for my son and my daughter-in-law, which by the time you see this, I've given to them for their first wedding anniversary. Now, I have a confession to make because this was actually started, I think, May or June last year, and it was meant to be their wedding present. But I lost the will to live with it a little bit because, well, you can see for yourself, the colours are all very much the same, and you know me in colour. So I've, what's the word I'm looking for? Adapted it a bit. Lauren's wedding ring is white gold, so I've changed the wedding ring from the kit, which was ordinary threads in yellow gold. I've changed that to a metallic silvery colour, and the lettering should have been done in that sort of dark tan, but I've done it in the same colour blue as Peter's suit that he wore to get married in. So I've personalised it a little bit. I'm just a bit ashamed of myself that I didn't get it finished in time to be a wedding present. But that's what my secret project has been. I think I'm recording this before I give it to them, obviously. So I don't know quite what I've just talked about in the podcast proper, but I think I've probably just shown you the cross stitch that I fished out that I was working on years ago, that this has now given me the impetus to get on with again. So yeah, that's my secret project. Pretty pleased with it. It was originally bought to be a sampler for my husband and I didn't get on with it for so very, very long that now it's a sampler for our eldest and his wife. So at least it got used, eh? And while we're looking at that, you might as well see, I keep talking about it. There's my rotor. Anyway, this will be the very end of the podcast. So I would like to say thank you for watching. Stay safe, and I'll see you next week. And until then, happy knitting.